Right, GKN, let's go. I'll do the company bit very, very quickly. It's got 4 divisions, about 47,000 people in it. We make aerospace widgets, we make tractor widgets, we make powdered metal widgets, and we make automotive drive shaft widgets. Yeah? So that's it, that's the company bit. But we've been around for a long time, over 250 years. Yeah? And trying to do some reflection on leadership in GKN, I went back as far as I could read in the volumes that we've got written about us, and I tried to look at some of the significant leaders that we had. And this lady stood out the most. She's one of the sort of founding members, and it's Lady Charlotte Guest. And she was around in the company about 1854, and at that time, GKN smelted metal in Wales, near Merthyr Tydfil, and in fact, it was the largest manufacturing company in the world at that time, in 1858. And this lady took them through the real dark ages. Yeah, they had real problems at that time. They couldn't keep up with the expansion, and she led them for 3 or 4 years, as well as having 10 children. Yeah? So she was a pretty good leader. Yeah, and she brought them out of that, made them profitable, yes, and expanded the company. And this is the quote that she said, and you know, I have a job speaking English myself, but this is Old English, so just read that. You know, the energy that we have to put into improvement is immense. You know, that's what she said, and it always sticks in my head, this. Today, do the leaders in GKN measure up to that standard and her thinking, you know, or are they a little bit more like this? You know, I stand here today after 10 years of doing lean in GKN, and I can't say that we've got a culture where everybody improves their work every day. And that's because we've still got people that are led more like that, which is a shame, yeah? But we've come a long way. So I'm trying to reflect back today about some of the things that we've done to change our leaders' behaviours and how they act, and some of those things we've failed at along the way. And I think you can learn a lot more about your failures than you can sometimes about the successes. So this is good for me. The presentation was good to do because it made me think and reflect back about the journey we've had. Because it's never good enough for me, yeah, but sometimes you need to think about all the good things you have achieved. Yeah. So I'm going to reflect back on this a little bit today. So a little bit about sort of lean in GKN. I started the improvement for a long time, as you saw from Lady Charlotte there, yeah? But we really started to have our sort of lean enterprise approach in 2003. And this is the first key learning for me as a leader going into a new company. I came from a very structured automotive background. You know, we copied Toyota, used the tools, you know, learnt a lot from that. And I came into GKN where actually it was led very, very differently. The culture was very different. It was a lot softer approach. People were left to sort of rule their own empire, as it were. We had a lot of different countries all over the world, and when you talked about improvement, people did not understand the language as we talked about yesterday. And that language is key, and GKN had a different language. So when I talked to the leadership, who were a lot of engineers, and I'm an ex-engineer as well, they want to talk about the tactical things. When you talk strategically about what we need to do with lean and about the behaviors and the leadership, straight over the head. Show me an action plan with 200 lines on it, what we need to do next, great. So talking strategically about lean is very hard to do. So the learning here was to make it simple. Make it simply understood, because you've got senior guys that have never done this before. They've never put value streams in. They don't know what that looks like on the shop floor. They've never done lean in the office. And you're asking them how to do all of these things and understand it. So the way that we tackled that in GKN, it was working with the CEO, Kevin Smith at the time. He was talking about creating shareholder value. Yeah? So he's in that world of all the shareholders and all of the good stuff up there in the company. How can we connect it to the business, lean? Well, actually, lean is taking that value to the shareholder and making it flow through the company. And that's the simple thing that we took. And in GKN, we talk about improving the flow of value. And that's the one hook that we sort of used as our mentor for lean. And it's simply understood by everybody. And what it doesn't get into is all the Japanese words and all the tools and techniques. It's just about improving the flow of value. And everybody can understand that. So make the message simple for people. And that's a key thing. So we've been at this a while. Value flow in a company like GKN is complicated. Yeah? It's not easy. And it means different things to different people. So we had to split that value flow down a little bit further. And you can see here, this is how we describe it. Just simply as 3 levels of value flow. The first level being at where Mike talked about yesterday was about where the work is at. And I think Dan, you talked about seeing into the business. This is really where the work is done in our cells, our manufacturing cells, and in the office areas where we do the activity. Then how we design it to flow in our factories end to end, and then in our supply chain. Because it means different things to different people. It means they have to use different tools and techniques. It means we have to lead differently at those levels in the organization as well. So that's how we simply describe it to people. The issue is how we lead all of that. And I don't know if you remember a program in the 1980s, showing my age now, a guy called Johnny Ball, and the program was called Think of a Number. Yeah, it's a kids' TV program, all that sort of mad scientist sort of scenario. And that's the management that we have. You know, start off and think of a number. And I'll tell you a little quick story about that. In the crisis in 2008, we had to save 100 million in cash in GKN. Sat there with the CEOs, and some of the actions that they had commanded hadn't worked. And it's one of those moments of truth. Yeah? So they all turned around, and I happened to be in the room, and they said, "What's the problem?" Which is good. Yeah? What's the problem we got? The issue was, it was them. They were the problem. So I had to say that to them. And they were, "Well, what do you mean by that?" Yeah? And I said to them, "Well, you want to save 100 million, so that's the CEO. He passes it down to the next CEO of the division. Here's your 50 million. They pass that down to the MD. Here's your 5 million. He passes that down to the plant manager. Here's your 500,000 you've got to save. That's the problem." No, that's good. That's just good target setting. That's, yeah. Where in that have we understood what we've got to do? We could do a million things to save that inventory. What are we going to focus on? What's the vital few things? That's when we really realized, you know, we need a structured approach to this. And problem solving is the absolute #1 key. And getting senior leaders to structure their thinking around problem solving is key. So, that's the leader's role. There's lots of problems in an organization. In fact, for the senior leaders, there's less problems. They have an easier life. Well, maybe not. Probably more complicated. Yeah? And there's probably less data on strategic problems. Yeah? So it's harder to solve them. Yeah, we have to put more effort and work in. As we go down the organization, though, there are more problems. As we get to team leader and team member level here, they have lots of little problems. And to me, as leaders in the organization, we have to value the small improvements just as much as the bigger project improvements that we do. And that's real lean leadership. And we need to make sure that coaching is at every level. So that's a key learning. #2 is this. And leaders are teachers and coaches in the organization to target solving problems at every level. That's the role of a leader. We, unfortunately, still today, have got leaders that are trying to solve all the problems. It's a subtle difference, but a large difference, yeah? Leaders that are trying to solve all the problems rather than coaching and developing others to solve the problems. And especially for us, we have engineers that love solving problems, yeah? And we've got engineers that are leaders that still want to solve the problems for everybody instead of developing other people to think and act that way. So that's a key thing to take away and think about for your own organization. How can you make that switch? And it's a huge, huge switch in thinking to develop others to solve the problems, not for you to do it. So, if we're going to change the role of leaders, we come up against a few barriers in our mind, yeah? It also means a personal change from what you've done. And you guys have probably got examples of this. I mean, I could put some swear words up there as well when we talk about lean with our leaders, yeah? Some of them, no effing way are we going to do this, yeah? I've had many responses. People need to make that adjustment in their mind, and you need to tap into the why for them. And it's hard, and everybody's got individual thoughts on this. So you need to understand that when you start talking to them. So the question is, how are we going to align everybody in this thinking? And as leaders, it's hugely important. I borrowed this slide off Rich. Rich Watkins is here today. He's one of our lean leaders. He's been through this journey in GKN, and I borrowed this slide off him. And it gets quite hypnotic after a while, yeah? You can't stop looking at the eyes, yeah? The issue is, this is you guys, yeah? You're the leaders in your organization. Everybody is watching you, and whether you like it or not, you are sending out signals to people. Your behaviors, yeah? Everybody's watching you. What you do, they will do. If you don't ask about things, don't ask about the process, don't teach people the problem solving, they will not care about it. And it goes back to the duck slide I showed about before. The success of what we do, and this is what I said in the first conference in GKN, I said it to all the senior leaders, we had 250 senior leaders there, totally relies on the leadership. Team members do not fail with lean, and we've done this all over the world. In Arvin Meritor, we did it all over the world, in many countries. Team members do not fail with lean. Leaders fail with the way that they lead people to do it. That's a very hard message to give to senior leaders, but it's the truth. How they lead them is what makes the difference. All the tools and techniques and all the methods work in whatever. I remember doing a value stream map in milking cows once, yeah? The tools work. The tools work. I've seen many great examples yesterday about that. It's how the leaders get people and develop their thinking in the tools. So you're getting watched every second, yeah? And the question is, how are you going to align everybody in an organization to sort of behave and act a certain way? And Mike yesterday went into great detail about this, and I'm no brain analyst. Unless the leaders do something different, nothing will change. They have to actually physically go and do something different with people and demonstrate it. Commanding lean from the top will not change anything. The way that they behave and what they do, they have to change. Now, what do they change into, yeah, is key. And Dan, I think the last 2 years we've been talking about what a lean management system is, and you showed a model. You didn't go into the detail. I think we need to expand that because I think it's great, yeah? And whatever your current management system is, we need to change it and think about it, yeah, in the context of lean thinking. And this is something I picked up years back, and I think it's great. It's better, you guys have heard of the production waste, the 7 wastes from Ono. So we go and analyze a process and look for the waste, motion, and so forth. These wastes here are leadership wastes. And it's the only slide I've got a lot of writing on, so I apologize, yeah? But we need to go through this because it's so important. I want you to reflect back into your own organization as we go through these now. Yeah, if Ono was here, I'm sure he'd come up with, better waste than this, but, probably think about it a lot better. But these leadership wastes are absolutely key because they cause so much more waste in the organization. So, quickly, focus. What's important? Arises when everybody's not aligned and energized on the critical items, yeah? And we have that all the time. I go down to some of our sites. We're going through CI planning at the moment, coaching site leaders how to do that, yeah? That CI plan is what I call a wish list. 200 items on it of things to do that we want to do. It's great. They all got together and we dreamt up loads of things. Actually, we're never going to achieve all of those things. So, did we break those problems down? Did we concentrate on the vital few? What was the thinking behind it? So, leaders who don't get that down to the vital few things, yeah, and align everybody on them, we're not going to be successful. Structure arises when there is not a system in place to maintain focus throughout the organization. You have to change your management systems and the way that you lead people. If you're not going to do something differently, nothing will change. So what are the systems you're going to put in place? So a good example is getting employee involvement, giving people time to make improvements, changing the way that we lead. In the morning, we are going to have a morning meeting. We are going to have a system to make improvements. So whatever those systems are that you need to put in place, If we don't put them in place, nothing will change. So not providing the structure, not providing the resources. How many times do we say we're going to make an improvement, and then when it comes to the money thing, well, can't do that now. Can't give people the time. If you never give them the time, they're never going to make any improvements. Integration, we talked about this yesterday, is an absolute key one. We've got HR initiatives, we've got IT initiatives, we've got all of these initiatives in organisation, and they do not work together. In fact, they're in competition for resource. So this is a leader's responsibility to make sure that these things work together, and we focus on the vital few. Next one is involvement. Arises when we are not getting ownership by our employees. They are not allowed to make improvements. I was a sheet metal worker originally. I used to come to work, you had to weld up in a cell. I was not allowed to change the way that we did the work. It was so frustrating because I knew there was a better way. But I wasn't allowed to be involved in that. I just had to come and press the button basically. Discipline. If we aren't going to put the discipline into the system that we do, it's not all nice and fluffy, all these things, People don't naturally just go out there and start doing these things. Some people do, but not everybody. Everybody's usually watching and waiting for the leaders and what they need to do differently. So we've got to have the discipline as leaders, and if we haven't got the discipline to check, act, and follow up on things, and that's where, unfortunately, in GKN, we're weak on the check, act side. We haven't got the systems in place to check, act. And the last one is ownership. So if you aren't personally committed to this, you're just told to do it. You're doing it because you've been told to do it. And we had that at the very beginning. Come on, you're told to go on the training course. You're going to do lean. That doesn't get, if we haven't got the personal commitment of leaders, we're going to fail. They aren't going to coach people. They're just going to blow it off, forget about it. So we need to get the personal commitment from leaders. So just think about those wastes in your organisation. They're the most evil wastes ever. These far outweigh the production waste. They cause so much more waste in the organisation. So think about how you can tackle those wastes as management and leaders in your organisation. Right, so we're going to change the role of leaders. What do you want leaders to do in an organisation? And this is how we put it across. This is a teach poster. I don't think I've got it here. This is a teach poster. Rich uses this in the training for leaders. We tried to find a better way than PowerPoint to train leaders. So now we try and use posters with scripts because we find that's easier for a leader to take back to his team and go through it, and it's visual. So this is a poster that we use, and the core concept for leaders is that they are teachers. And just to reflect back on our journey, we've done thousands of training programs and initiatives in GKN on this, and made many mistakes. The first real program where we took a group of plant leaders, they had 3 weeks of learning by doing with about 3 months break in between it, looking at value streams, looking at business processes and how to do employee involvement. At the end of that, one guy, I always remember him, stood up, Mark, great guy, clever guy, engineer, now a plant leader, and he said to me, this has been the best training we've had, it's fantastic. What do you want me to do with this? That was our mistake. We didn't make it clear, and this is why we've changed that now. Leaders are teachers. We want you to go and develop others, but it's so alien. They don't think it's my job to make reports and do things for the leaders above me, not to develop others. We have really, really struggled with this concept because it's so alien in GKN. We're here to just manage the numbers and do reports, not develop others. So it's a huge, huge change. So what else do we want leaders to do? We want them to organise around key processes, We want them to change roles around key processes. In our office areas, we've put value streams in our production areas, so you guys know what a value stream is. We have a value stream leader. We reorganise our machines around a value stream, so we then focus on the start to the end. We need to do that the same in our office areas, We still have all these departments and functions, which we need the expertise in. We need the experts in the functions, but we need them to focus on the process. So who is fighting for the process? Who is doing the problem solving? We need a leader to do that. So now we're trying to put in key business process leaders that do the problem solving, not the work activity, but the problem solving on the process, measure it, understand where the problems are, and help the people solve them. PDCA, I won't talk about that. You heard enough about that yesterday. That was great thinking about it. We don't check act in GKN. Yeah? We need to get better at it. That's our issue. We do a lot of plan doing, more plan doing, more plan doing. Leaders teaching lean tools. We've never done that before, and how we do that in the organisation. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. Solving problems, we'll come to that. That is absolutely a key role, how to teach and develop others to do that. And then the other thing is go-see style of leadership. You heard that yesterday, yeah? We have turned a lot of our leaders into what I call reporting monkeys, sat in their office, away from the floor, not coaching, developing others, yeah? And it's the senior leaders that have made that happen without realising it. And taking 90% of the time doing reports, not developing and coaching others to solve problems that we've got. Usually it's reports about the problems, yeah? But anyhow, yeah? So we need to change that style and get our leaders out going and coaching. And that is very difficult. And a lot of them have not got the people skills to do that and find it very difficult. And some of those people have been promoted from the floor and now they're in charge of people and they've never been developed to do it. And in fact, on our training, I'll talk about it in a while, the people skills bit far outweighed any lean tools. Yeah? The development we gave them on the people skills, people wanted that more. So, where are we going with this leadership? I think you guys all started off, you saw yesterday. This is my favourite thinking. Shingo is a great guy. I think he's someone that we don't talk about enough. Yeah? His thinking about problem solving is fantastic. And he came up with this sort of methodology that we start off with the tools, and most of us do. I was talking to Rich about that this morning. Most of us start off with demonstrating tools to make the change. Yeah? So we start on the how we do something. Then we start applying it to maybe a system or a process, yeah, that thinking. And that, well, if we use this tool, we can change this now, we can connect it to this, we start stemming out the improvements longer. Once we've done that for a while, it becomes in our mindset. It's a way of working. We start applying those principles and that learning every day in everything we do. And that's what, to me, is a lean culture. If we get everybody in GKN thinking and acting that way with those principles in mind, that's what I call a lean culture. Unfortunately, we're far off that yet. We've only had 10 years at it. Toyota have had a lot longer at that thinking. And they still have to develop people at a tremendous pace. So just bear in mind, we're getting away from the know-how, which is a tool focus, to eventually want leaders to know why. Why do we use these principles? Yeah, and once they know that, they'll act that way all the time. So, what have we done in land systems? Yeah, this is the strategic, I'm sorry, it's a bit, so we have a house like everybody else, yeah. This is our strategic model though. And we do have a financial plan that we try to make money in GKN. In my division, we look at free markets. We make agricultural equipment, we have construction and mining, we have industrial equipment. We are transforming ourselves from just being component manufacturers to system providers to then service providers. So it's a big transition for the division I am. At the moment, we just do products. And we ought to change a lot. The question that we brought up is, how do we want to lead? What are our leadership principles? It's not lean principles, it's leadership principles, yeah? And we've started to develop and think about what are the leadership principles that we want to lead by. We've divided that into purpose, process, and people. Our purpose is to create value for our customers and achieve our business results. We have some enterprise value streams to do that. Yeah, on process-wise, we want to do continuous improvement. We want to do that on a daily basis, use plan, do, check, act. Design processes that reveal problems. We want suppliers as partners, and so forth. And the same with people. And what we're doing now is we need our leaders to understand what those are and buy into them and say what they are and aren't. Because at the moment, if we've got our leaders together, we all have a different opinion about what these principles are. And we need to be aligned together in the organisation to drive those principles. So remember, that's the future, being principle-driven. All the leaders thinking and acting a certain set of principles that we've agreed. And to me, that's a CI culture. And Toyota have done a fantastic job of getting that in place, yeah? They've had years to do that. We are way behind that in GKN. We've still got a long way to go to embed these principles and thinking way in our leader's mind. We're still down here in some of the sites. I think you guys talked about yesterday, it's what we call, and we learned from Toyota, which is called management control. Just having data and information, knowing whether we're behind or in front on the work or not today. How do we escalate problems? Having leaders that can problem solve robustly and scientifically is absolutely key. Having capable processes. We've still got plants that have got kit that are going down left, right and centre and can't manufacture because we haven't got capable processes in place. And then no standard work. If we have no standard, we don't know where we are. People can perform tasks differently. It causes safety problems. It causes all sorts of issues. That's the foundation that we call management control before we do improvement. So we have to tackle that. And that's your management system and how you manage your business on a day-to-day basis. So we're down here on some sites. Other sites, we are way out there and the facilities are great. So that's being principle-driven, yeah? And we're trying to embed that into the way our approach in the organisation. So we've had a lot of development, like I said, in GKN, and I'm sorry for all the acronyms. Yeah? We had a lot of leadership awareness training. We have continuous improvement leaders. Rich, is it, what, 600, 700, 800 people we trained as continuous improvement leaders? We made the transition that a continuous improvement leader shouldn't own continuous improvement projects. They're there as a coach. This year we've made a big change. Those continuous improvement leaders now, it's just a role. To be a plant leader, you have to have done that for 2 years before you're allowed to be a plant leader now. And it's a development activity. It's not a job role. Yeah, so we've changed our approach to that. Senior leaders, yeah? I remember having a conversation with the CEOs. They go around the plants. And we had this big debate because they say, well, why are some sites being successful with this? Because we have 160 sites in GKN. Some sites have done some fantastic changes, done some great things with people and lean, and other sites don't look like they've started. Now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work that one out, yeah? Leadership. So that invoked then HR, oh, we need a leadership program. You know, that's an issue. But it was all an enabler to help us think about the way that we were leading. So there's also functional training, how you put lean into functions, into business processes. We've had a lot of development about that. How we develop our team leaders, which I'll talk about in a minute, which is absolutely key. Those are the ones where the work happens. How much time do we spend developing and coaching our team leaders? And then employee involvement teams. This is the natural, what we call natural work teams that we want to set up. You know, you've got to talk about brain activity. You've got, I think it's your anterior cortex, yeah? You are naturally hardwired to belong to a team. It's a belonging part of your brain. If we can tap into that as an organisation and be led that way, yeah, it's, you know, it's a massive success factor. So you need to structure around that. This is a quote from one of the, we just had a graduation. We do a year's training, roughly, for our plant leaders. They go on this program, and this is, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had a graduation where they have to present to the CEO what they've done after their training, what it meant to them. And this is a quote, and this is a guy that's been in the company, you know, probably about 25 years, and that's what he's learned, yeah, just from that program. Now he's got to go and apply it. That's where we fail. Training's not enough. Skill development is what it's about. And this is a constant battle that I have with our HR. Yeah? They are conditioned to think that we develop people through training programs. That is not what it's about. We need leaders to develop people in skill by coaching and teaching, which is our difference. There's a difference there. Because if this is a map here of all of our lean tools. There are lots of lean tools that you can get trained in. Yeah? That's why when we have continuous improvement leaders, they have a years-long training program where they learn a lot of these, not even all of these tools, just a few of them. That's how many lean tools there are out there. We are not going to do that by training program. We need to pull in learning as we solve the problems in the organisation. If we cannot find things, we have a problem, we cannot manufacture in time because we can't find the tooling, we need to then pull in 5S as a tool and teach together as a leader, the people, and learn together as a leader with your people, 5S. Not go on a 5S training program and then try and do 5S everywhere. So we need to pull in the tools to suit the problems that we've got. And we need to develop people's skills that way. You know, it's absolutely key. The number one skill in Lean is problem solving. That is what it's about. It's about tackling our business problems scientifically in a structured way so we can narrow them down, understand the current situation, break that problem down, understand what we're going to work on next as a priority. We can't do everything. How much is those problems going to, closing the gaps on our problems are going to contribute to our targets and goals? So, you know, and it's so hard to do. For me, it's been personally really hard to coach executives on problem solving because they're sat at the top of the organization, they've got all of the power, yeah, they can just command anything to happen, supposedly, yeah, and they do it in a very unstructured way. You know, a lot of gut feeling, a lot of emotions, a lot of politics, without the data, without the facts, without the priority. And not only that, not using the organization's knowledge to make those decisions. So problem solving is absolutely key. And we've come a long way. We started off with safety as well, using A3s, getting people to investigate accidents on safety. Because people have to do a good job of that. They don't want to hurt people, yeah? So that was a good way of getting it going. But it's been a long battle to get problem solving, the thinking way, into leaderships. But we've come a long way now, and we started to do it at each level of the organization. You know, it creates a foundation to have dialogue about problems if you've got a structured method to do this. It helps you close your gaps on your strategy, which is key. And then people development. You know, problem solving is also about people development, handing the problems to the people in the organization and coaching them through that, not you providing all the solutions. So it's a key people development thinking way as well. Okay, so the other thing that we need to tackle as leaders is changing the roles in the organization. This has been a journey also. I'm not going to go through all of these, but actually changing a role, making clear the expectations in a lean organization requires you to change the way that people are led. We need to reorganize roles around the process. So now we start to put value stream leaders that we talked about before. Yeah, so they are process leaders in the office areas as well. And then team leaders, changing the role of team leaders is absolutely key. That is where the work goes. So we have team leaders that are doing the work activities and not helping the team members solve problems. They're too busy doing the work activities. How are they going to help the team members solve problems? So this is our concept with team leaders. What do we want them to do? This is another teach poster that we use with team leaders. We want them to create standards. If we have no standard, we don't know where we are, we don't know where to improve from. Okay, we want them to make problems visible, get data, gather it. In an office area, this amazes me. Yeah? In production, as soon as we stop the line, we're there, we're firefighting it because we can see it. In office areas, where's the red flag for people to say, I've got a problem? Who's going to help me? No, we just load more work on them. You know, that system, that flag for help is not there in office areas. So we need to get data about our process and design our processes to reveal problems. Last one there is get team leaders to coach problem solving. And then, of course, then, as you heard yesterday from Mike, install that quick PDCA improvements. We do not want a culture putting Kaizen events in place. Events are a good starting point. What we want is daily continuous improvement. And why is that? Because 5S is a great way to start. We have a 5S event. Everybody improves their area. Oh, this is great now. 3 months later, it's failed. Yeah? How many facilities and plants have seen that at? The standards drop. Why? Because we didn't give people time to improve the system. They aren't making small improvements on it. And what happens is we reach that point where the system's failed, something goes wrong, we reach what I call the oh shit moment. Yeah? We have to do another Kaizen event to bring it up to the standard again, and then we do it again 6 months later. That is not continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is making small changes all of the time to maintain the standard and improve it. So that's why we need to make it daily. So that's what we want our team leader to do with his team. And these are some of the people systems that you need to put in place. And that's right, people systems, not tools, people systems. You need to allow people the time to make improvements, whether it's a morning meeting to get organised, to organise their actions for today and the work activities, whether it's some time in the week to make improvements. You need to assess and plan against the goals that we're setting them. You need time to create standard work. So you need to think about the systems, what a team member's role is, what a team leader's role is, how am I going to coach these things and put them in place. The other key area on leadership that we did during our training is developing core people skills. And I cannot say how important this is. Connecting people skill development with the lean tools as you roll them out is absolutely fundamental. We used a guy called Frank Devine in Accelerated Improvement. He came up with a simple method to coach leaders and how to use these core skills. And our core skills are giving coaching, constructive feedback and recognition. And how leaders do that is absolutely key. And part of our training is to, if we want to be a coach, we all say we want to be better coaches. How much time do we actually spend developing our people? And make that transition to that coaching time. So we use this thing called leadership standard work, and this is a concept I feel that's very misunderstood in organisations. They think it's about standardising a leader's day and every activity, the meetings and what we do. It's not about that. Leadership standard work is about getting yourself organised to be more of the coach type leader. To spend more time doing the coaching activity. So here you see a system that's used in one of our brunette plants where the guys have got a trigger system that's done visually to go and coach areas on how they're making their improvements. And there's a set of questions there because they've never done it before. So yes, they are reading from a card with questions, but it helps. They've designed it themselves. We didn't tell them to do that. They came up with their own system. And they use that as a trigger to go and use their coaching skills and ask about the process. You have to be that disciplined. Toyota use systems like this, and they have far more discipline than our leaders are. They've got a history of it. So if they need to do it, we certainly do. But you've got to let people develop their own systems to do this, and trigger and coach. We do not automatically spend loads of time coaching. I know, I struggle with it still. We always get asked to do a million things and then never spend the time coaching people on how to make improvements. So developing systems that allow you to do that is key, and leadership standard work is one of those systems to help you transition to that style of leadership. And the other thing is those core people skills. You need to train people on them, how to get better at giving constructive feedback, recognising and coaching. Another key learning point was providing structure. And we are not Toyota. We have not got senior leaders coaching the next level down and so forth on the lean. How can I ask a senior leader to coach a plant leader on a value stream when he's never done it before? It just doesn't happen. So you've got to try and put mechanisms in place that help describe what good looks like. So this is a mechanism that we stole from Kayabasha. It's another Japanese mechanism. I won't use the Japanese words. Called the 20 keys. We call it enablers. So we describe visually what the 5 levels of good looks like. This is about leadership standard work and what good looks like for that. It's a framework. Okay, we have some detail of the levels about what good looks like, a description. And then we have, for the senior leaders, a series of questions to check, act, and ask about it. So yes, we write questions for senior leaders to go to a plant and ask about it. Otherwise, they won't know how. They don't know what to ask about. They're frightened to do it, a lot of them. They won't do it because they don't know. So we try and help them and give them some structure in place to do that. And by doing that, we've got a lot of leaders now going and doing value stream walks, going out to the facility because they feel a lot more comfortable to do that now. They do A3 reviews because we've got them to do problem solving now, so they feel comfortable with that. But they've got to have the leadership skills to do that. Don't send them out on the shop floor if you haven't developed their people skills. Yeah? It's the worst thing to do because they ask the wrong questions and they ask it the wrong way. Yeah? Last bit now, we've done a lot of training. We've had 8 years of training. That's why Richard and myself have lost our hair, yeah? Of training leaders in GKN. And it's not enough. Yeah? Where are we going to go next with this? And I think this is something we can do together. Yeah? And part of the Lean Institute, we've been talking about this already, and it's collaborative learning. How can we help each other learn and develop as leaders? And we're doing that internally at the moment. So we take our plants. We've got, in my division, we've got 45 plants. They've got continuous improvement plans. So we look at common themes that they want to work on. And now we're putting them in teams, plant leaders, to go learning by doing activity together. So if they want to work on a value stream in a plant, yeah, we'll take them to a plant, we'll carry out an activity, and we'll coach them there. They will help each other out. And then they'll go to the next facility and do the same. So we want to install this collaborative learning, and we've developed a process to do that. But we could do that together. You guys could do it together and get your leaders to learn. And we need to do it because we haven't got leaders that can coach that in GKN. So we need to help each other out, you know, more and have it structured. At the moment, we have lots of leaders visiting plants for best practice and seeing good things. That's not learning. Yes, it helps, but learning is by doing. So we need to structure our now training into learning by doing. So we have a process to do that, and that's what I'm going to be working on next year. Last bit, and the hardest bit, is lean into strategy, yeah? And strategic thinking. How many sleepless nights have I had with this? Yeah? Trying to get senior guys to break down these lovely, fluffy strategic statements that they come up with, great visionary stuff, into targets that the organisation can be aligned to and work on. It's very hard. It's very hard, yeah? But if you can get them using the problem-solving thinking, it makes it a lot easier. And also the way that they come up with their strategy. Yeah? So the way that we want our factories to go to certain customers, to certain markets, using lean thinking, how they design the supply chain, how they set up a factory, in that strategic thinking is absolutely key as well. So they need coaching on that. Otherwise, they'll just do it by numbers again. You know, and don't look at the process. They'll just want the numbers. The fact that they don't get the numbers because they didn't look at the process and strategically think about that. So trying to embed lean thinking into strategic strategy development is absolutely key, and it's very, very hard. You know, I think there's another area to investigate how we do that. In GKN, we're struggling. We're just starting to do the target setting bit. I was talking to Dan yesterday about that. In my division now, we've managed to get the strategy. We've got some targets. Target setting is different from improvement actions. Target setting comes from the strategy. It's the things we're trying to align people to do. You heard the Laurie with the Hoshin planning yesterday. Yeah, that target setting activity is absolutely key. That's the thing we're going to align everybody to do. The improvement action comes after that. We get the target. How are we going to close the gap on the target? We use problem solving. We break that problem down, and we put improvement actions in place. And that's what we're trying to develop that in the organisation. And problem solving is the key. So, if you haven't heard enough about problem solving, this is what I said to my leaders on the second conference I was at. You've got a card here. It's like a credit card, but in reverse, yeah? Because it actually makes you money. You know, so using this card and the steps on problem solving, I think if you were in John's workshop yesterday, he took you through PDCA problem solving steps. You know, this, if you follow this, this is what's going to get you where you need to get, these problem solving steps. And it's absolutely fundamental from the top of the organisation right the way down to the bottom. So this is what our people say about the culture that we've created. I just want you to have a look at what they say. Better put them in quotations. Say what you need to say. 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 Say what you need to say.
you need to say. Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say. Walking like a one-man army, fighting with the shadows in your head, living out the same old moment, knowing you'd be better off instead if you could only say what you need to say. 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 Say what you need to.
Okay. So this is a lady, Renee. Never met her. She's in a plant in Bowling Green in the US. And I think that, to me, Dan said it yesterday, it's got to be more to lean than a bunch of financial numbers. And me as a leader, and this is my personal thing, you know, it's far better to see that we've developed people and made a real difference. Yeah. When you get team members saying that, that's great. That's the CI culture. That's fantastic. And that's what I want everybody to feel like. Unfortunately, as I said, not everybody's led that way yet. Yeah, so, you know, think about that. To me, that's what Lean's about, you know, making it a better workplace for everybody. So, whatever you do on your journey, you know, developing people's thinking, putting Lean into strategy, organizing around flow, all of these things are great. The culture builds along the way. You're going to make mistakes. Yeah. You're going to recover from them. You're going to have bad times, good times. We're going into a bit of a bad time at the moment because we've got markets going down. We've reverted back to some of the old traditional behaviors, you know, get rid of people, all of that thing. You know, but we'll come out of that. We'll get better again, and we'll learn from it. And, you know, the key message from this is that success of this totally relies on the leaders, not team members, on the leadership and how they're led, and how the leaders are leading process design in the organization to make sure we reveal problems, how they're coaching others to solve problems, how they share knowledge from that problem solving to others, and then last of all, how good they are at teaching all those lean tools and techniques into the organization. And the ultimate lean question in my mind, we got taught many years back, yeah, was what did we learn from it? So show respect to people. Go where they've made improvements. Show me. I think Tanashi-san, he's not here. Has he got, yeah, show me. So, you know, the thing I got taught from Toyota the most, show me, and what did you learn from it? And by asking that question, what do you learn from it? It opens up a whole host of learning possibilities, yeah? And it opens up the minds of people to make the next improvement. Okay, thank you.